First of all, welcome. Thank you all for coming. This is a citizens legislative workshop. Some people have been a little bit confused. They thought it was a town hall. We will be having those during session. But one of the things that we really wanted to do, this is our first one we've done in the Tri-Cities, is to teach people how to get involved into the legislative process in Olympia. We start session on January 8th this year. It's a 60-day session. It's our short session. And so we will be heading over to Olympia, Stephanie, Matt, and I, where we will be starting with committee hearings and House floor and meeting with lobbyists and negotiating bills. We've already started the bill process. Wanted to thank City of Richland for allowing us to host this nonpartisan event tonight. Just a quick introduction. I'm just going to tell you, my name is April Connors. I'm State Representative of the 8th Legislative District, Benton and Franklin counties. This is my first term as a state legislator. Both of us were elected this past year and spent our first session in Olympia. I serve on 3 committees in the State House. I am the assistant ranking member on the House Appropriations Committee. That is our state budget. It's a $72 billion budget. I also serve as the assistant ranking member on the House Housing Committee. I am a real estate agent by trade, so that's a good committee for me to be on. And then I also serve on consumer protection and business. So this year, just for your information, we'll be hearing a lot of bills about artificial intelligence. It also deals with the insurance industry and the banking industry.
Oh, welcome. Oh, it's so good to be in the Tri-Cities. We've spent the early this week and part of last week in the Capitol trying to have committee days and get all of our bills ready to go and pre-filed, and so it's just always good to be back in the Tri-Cities. So thank you so much for coming out. I'm Stephanie Barnard. I represent the 8th Legislative District, and as April said, we are Kennewick, Pasco, and Richland. I think we have most of Richland, don't we? Right. Is Hanford in Richland? Because we don't have that. It doesn't go all the way out there. Yeah. So I serve on 3 committees, but I also serve on some other committees as well, like JLARC, which is it was a joint legislative assessors or auditors committee. So what we do is we audit programs that are happening all over the state of Washington to see if they're effective. And I love that committee because we get to really dive deep into the programs and say, okay, this money is being spent wisely and this is not. So that's actually really good. And I'm also on the broadband and internet equity committee, and that's been really, really interesting, trying to learn to see how we can best spend all the federal dollars that the state of Washington has just received for broadband. So exciting work. I'm also on the finance committee, which is the taxes. We go over all the taxes. So it is something that is near and dear to my heart. we have to be really, really careful. These are sacred funds. And we have to be very careful who we tax, how we tax, how much we tax, how we're utilizing those tax dollars. It feels like we are working with your dollars and my dollars just to make sure that it's being spent correctly. And so it's nice to be able to see how all the inner workings there of finance. And I also work I'm assistant ranking on it's called the Innovation, Community, Economic Development, and Veterans Committee. So, woo! It really covers the gamut. So I am assistant ranking, like I said, on that committee, which allows me to somewhat set the agenda or at least give the chair some ideas about which directions we could take and some good ideas we could have for the economy and economic development. And then the Energy and Environment Committee, it's Environment and Energy. I say Energy and Environment, but we have a huge agenda, and as you know, we cover CCA and all of the other issues that are the gas tax, the low carbon fuel standard, all of those things, and that is probably the committee that weighs most heavily as far as my time. So thanks so much again for coming.
Okay, so the next slide, Rep. Barnard and I are going to go over together, but has anyone in the room heard of TVW? Okay, a couple people. So if you are online and you go to tvw.org, you're going to get a lot of different things that you can do online. They have Inside Olympia, which shows insider information. It's, different interviews with people. I did one this year as being a first-time legislator. Matt just did one last week on nuclear energy. There's also the impact. One of the really good ones is legislative review, which they do weekly and daily during session. So at the end of each day, they give a highlight. These were kind of the big bills that happened in Olympia today. It's a little news show. It's maybe 8 minutes long a day. And then they do a highlight at the end of the week. One of the things on TVW that is important up in the top corner is the live button. So when we are either in committee hearings or on the House floor, you can watch along live to all hearings and House floor information. And there's a schedule that is up there as well. One of the things about the live piece, my husband likes to watch along when he's at work, and then sometimes he texts me and I have to ignore him in the middle of the meetings. But the live piece is really nice because you can, see what's happening on the House. Is there anything I'm missing on the live piece? Okay. So anyway, so we enjoy TVW a lot. As a matter of fact, I go home at night after session's over, and I usually watch the recap of the day to see what happened in other folks' committees. So if you haven't been on TVW before, I would say take a watch. So this is, last year I ran House Bill 1173 in the State House, and it was a bill about the wind turbines that might be coming to Washington, or to the Horse Heaven Hills, and this bill was a bill that would allow the lights to not come on unless an aircraft was close by, so they wouldn't blink all night long. And it was a bill for it was retroactive, so wind turbines that would have them on before would have to do it during a certain time frame, and any new wind turbines would have to install this system. So what we wanted to show you today is basically what a committee hearing is like. When a committee hearing starts, there is usually a staff overview. We have partisan staff in the House that helps the Republican caucus, and partisan staff that helps the Democratic caucus. And then we have nonpartisan staff who actually help put the bills together. And then they make sure that they'll fit within state code, the RCWs of the state. And so at the beginning of a committee hearing, what you will see is the nonpartisan staff will give an overview of the bill. And so that's what we'll just play like a minute of the overview.
Good morning, members of the committee. Angela Kleiss, committee staff. The bill before you is engrossed substitute House Bill 1173 relating to reducing light pollution associated with certain energy infrastructure. The bill passed the House 94-1. Under the bill before you, a owner or operator of a utility scale wind energy facility must operate with an aircraft detection lighting system to mitigate light pollution from the facility. An aircraft detection lighting system, or an ADLS, means a sensor-based system that is designated to detect approaching aircraft, automatically activates appropriate obstruction lights until the lights are no longer needed by the aircraft, and the Federal Aviation Administration has approved as meeting the requirements set forth in its current applicable advisory circular. If an owner and operator facility is unable to use an ADLS as a consequence of federal law, it must mitigate light pollution from the facility through alternative means demonstrated to the Department of Ecology.
So she'll go on for a few more minutes, but she'll explain to the committee the entire bill. In the meantime, the committee is sitting up above, and you'll see Matt up there in the corner. But the committee will be, because I'm actually presenting to the Senate. So this bill had already gone through the committee hearing process in the House. It had already gone to the House floor. It passed the House floor. So then once it passes the House, it has to go back to the Senate and do the same thing. So we take the bill over to the Senate. The Senate then hears the bill again. And so in this particular bill, we're testifying to the Senate. And so after the person gets done explaining what the bill does, then the member, the representative who's presenting the bill to the Senate, would then present their case why they think that the senator should choose and move forward on this bill. In the meantime, Senator Boehnke is sitting up in his seat. thinking of questions that he might ask the representative, as well as reading comments about the bill. And this is where you come in, because you've made comments or you've done pro or con for the bill, and he can see those up there and he can see where you're from. So he knows people in Kennewick like this bill because, while people may or may not like the turbines, they would really like the lights not to flash at night. And so, so that next is when I will speak, and she'll just play a short part of that.
Welcome, Rep. Connors, and thank you for following up with that great information about bats after our last conversation. And please tell us about your bill.
You're welcome. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, Ranking Member, members of the committee. I am April Connors from the mighty 8th District, which is in Tri-Cities, Washington. Happy to be here today and talk about this important bill to Eastern Washington. Last evening or yesterday, we sent a 7-second video out that hopefully everyone got a chance to look at to show what the lights look like at the evening that we see in our boundaries. And Washington State currently has about 2,000 wind turbines in the state. Most of them have the flashing, blinking red lights on them, which are a requirement for safety for our air industry, for the FAA. Some of the, while in Eastern Washington, we don't always have a say in where they are sited, we do enjoy our night skies and our beauty. The video that I sent you last night showed turbines that are about 250 feet tall. There are some currently being proposed in our area that are close to 550 to 600 feet tall. So you might imagine stacking our state capitol dome to dome on top of each other. And that's about how tall those turbines would be with the lights on top. So when I first saw these at night flashing, like the video I did show you, that's a video I took from my cell phone, I thought, I didn't know what they were, to be honest. We were coming back from Walla Walla from a basketball game, and I looked over at my husband, and I actually grabbed his arm, and I'm like, what is happening on the hillside in Walla Walla? And I was surprised and shocked. And I do have a statement from one of the folks that live in Walla Walla, and she says, I found myself and the lights during my drive home on Highway 12 from Walla Walla to Kennewick hypnotic and distracting. I had to force myself not to look at them, as the constantly blinking along the hillside has a very lulling effect. The bill proposes that we add an aircraft detection lighting system to all existing and new wind turbines.
So I go on for another 4 minutes explaining why this is a good bill and what it will do to help Eastern Washington. And then from there, after I get done talking, you, as a citizen or lobbyist, in this case on this bill, have the ability to either show up in person, but you have to sign up in advance, to testify for or against the bill. And so there's a table in front that you would go in front of, and you would sit to do a testimony.
Members of the committee, I'm Steve Taylor, Director of Regulatory and Regional Affairs for Cowlitz Public Utility District in Southwest Washington. We, along with, we are signed in other on 1173. We, along with other public utility and cooperative partners, are invested in 2 wind projects in the Klickitat County area. We have been following this bill. We appreciate the amendments that Representative Connors has already agreed to. We are concerned with some potential conflicts with military training routes that do intersect with the location of our projects in Eastern Klickitat County. We definitely appreciate the overall intent of the bill, but we do believe there are some conflicts where if an ADLS system is not approved by the FAA, that alternative mitigation would be required.
By the way, we addressed all those problems with the military information on there. But he signed in not pro or con, for or against, he signed in other, which means that, and you can do that as well, you could do pro, con, or other, which means that I'm not completely against the bill, but I'm not for the bill, but maybe I'd like to see some changes on the bill. But that's what it looks like when you testify in person. You sit before the committee just like I did. And then there's another way to testify if you can't. And this started it was one of the good things that started during the pandemic, because it allowed people to testify remotely. So that was an option that they kept moving forward into this next legislative session, which is really helpful for folks from Eastern Washington. Typically, just so you know, if you testify online or in front of the committee, they give you a time limit. And usually that time limit could be from a minute and a half. It could be 3 minutes if they had a lot of time that day. That's probably the most I've ever seen, but it usually could be 60 to 90 seconds. Or 30? Or 30 seconds. I mean, you have to have your spiel down. And so, and you have to, and if you're going on Zoom, you're waiting in line your turn to be put into a panel to come onto the screen. And so, Lindsay, will you just show like what this is Jim Conca.
You got it.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you again. My name is Dr. James Conca. I'm a 40-year research scientist and a trustee of the Herbert M. Parker Foundation at WSU. I live in Richland and strongly urge you to support Bill 1173. When speaking with citizens across the state of Washington, which I often do, there are two primary aspects of wind farms that are a problem to them, especially those living within sight. They are unsightly during the day and constantly flashing lights are annoying at night. This is especially a problem when the wind farms are located near population centers, as is proposed for the Tri-Cities. We can't mitigate the daytime view except to locate the wind farms farther from the population, but we can easily mitigate the flashing lights at night by requiring the technologies and strategies proposed in this bill. While these warning lights are necessary for safety, the warning lights only need to be on when there are aircraft nearby, something that occurs only 2 or 3% of the time. Technologies such as the aircraft detection lighting systems have been used for this purpose in other states across America and across the world, particularly in states along Tornado Alley from northern Texas to North Dakota, where there are many times more wind turbines in the state of Washington, and they get twice as much energy from each wind turbine than in Washington state.
So that's what it looks like when they're on Zoom, and so we get to watch the folks on Zoom testify as well. So it's a great opportunity if you're from Eastern Washington, you want to get involved, to be able to do that on Zoom.
Coming through COVID and even prior to COVID, you'd have to go over to CBC and actually put in a 2-week request to try to get into a committee. And think of how hard that was. And now we just send you a link, and we're going to talk through a lot of that tonight and what Representative Connors was talking about, and speeding up the process, making it more effective and efficient to get you out there, to get the words out. But that helps us help you. So when you do that, to make sure your words are written down, make sure you're concise, make sure you put it as detailed as you possibly can, because your words matter to us, to make sure the voice of the people are heard in our government. And that's our goal. I think all three of us agree, and a lot of people around the state, to get more involved in what's happening on each one of these bills, to know the committees, to know the hearings when they're doing it, how we can work together. That's what we're trying to get to tonight. So I'll hand it over to Rep. Barnard, who takes it from here.
We're just going to go over a brief look at the website in the ledge.wa.gov, and just by show of hands, who's gone to that site and done something on it? Okay, so most of you are familiar with it. You've been there, but you know the whole motive behind bringing people here tonight is so that we can get more help. We need you. We need help because we're trying to do what's best for the Tri-Cities. Get some great legislation passed that will really benefit our local economy and other things. So we're hoping that you can take this information and help us out. So the bill information you'll see on the website includes tracking, signing up for public testimony, submitting. I mean, you can read this yourself.
So, yeah, go on to the next one, as we say. So as we go through it, here's the site that we're looking at. This will help you if you're taking notes and continuing watching online as well. There's one example of what you're going to see on the left side, and I can tell you as a data scientist and technologist, I guess, we have a lot of information on the site. So get familiar with it, and we can help you go through that with our astounding legislative assistants back here. If we haven't introduced them, they're amazing. They help us get through a lot of the things that we're doing. And without our team, our staff, and the staff people that work with us at the state, we couldn't do what we do and make us look so much better than we are, frankly, a lot of times. But as you can see on the left side, House of Representatives, Senate, finding your district. I walk through that with people. It's like, so where am I at? We've had some recent changes in the district boundaries. So go in there and put in your address. It will tell you exactly if you're the 8th, the 16th, or the 15th, because that has changed. So we start with that because we don't want to step on anybody's toes. And what I would add is we're doing a really good job of bringing together the Tri-City region as a team. So the 8th, the 15th, 16th, and even the 9th, going all the way up to Spokane, we're all trying to speak with one voice about rural Eastern Washington, about the issues that impact you. And so when we go to the legislature, we do hearings, we help each other out, we work together as a team toward those effects, and voting as a block brings us a lot more power in the state than we've seen in the past. And when you're on here, you could see the House floor calendar What that offers a lot of us is when these bills are going to be presented, we're going to be moving really fast in the short session versus long. And if you don't know, we're coming up to a short session this year, that's 60 days. The long session, we're 105 days. That's what we went through this last year. So it gives us a little bit more time. The longer time is usually for the budget. So we go through a lot of the budget hearings, appropriations, ways and means. We're going to be doing a lot of that, but now it's condensed. So as they're new to this, it's a sprint. We've already really kind of started last week when they were up at the committee days. We had the Senate committee days the week before. We are already prepping bills, and some of them have already dropped bills. We've already seen some already come into the hopper. We're already starting to see what bills are going to be heard. And then you can see on the display where those bills are going to go. So committee chairs who are in the Democrat Party right now, they're going to be deciding on where these bills go into which committees. And that's when we're going to have to start working our stakeholder development, working with you on seeing which ones really matter most. Being on the radio, I know Rep. Barnard was on the radio today trying to push a lot of different challenges that we're seeing on these bills, and then moving that forward to hear from you on what your impacts are on where these agency requests, the rules are, and even the committee schedules that you can see. So down below, you'll see the environment, energy, technology, higher ed, and the different ones here. When we meet on each side from the House and the Senate, it's a little different, and what the agendas are. And those are usually published almost a week in advance. Sometimes they're 24, 48 hours. So by state law, we try to push them out as soon as possible. On those agendas, you'll see what bills are going to be discussed when they're out there, and we try to get that out through our LAs as fast as possible. So what that does is that allows you that time to go ahead and get your words together. So if you got 3 minutes, we always say be adaptive to 1 minute. And if you're talked to with the chair, they may say, we only have you for 30 seconds, can you wrap up? It's not to be disrespectful to you at all. It may seem that way. Don't get emotional. We understand that. Sometimes we get cut off. We will fight for your time to get it as long as you can to speak in front of our committees. But especially during COVID, sometimes people got muted. People didn't get recognized. People got, frankly, cut off a lot faster than they should have. So our job is to fight for your rights, to get up there, to voice your rights to do this. And if you're not being heard, let us know through our LAs so we can get you on those committees. We can make sure you're heard if you want to be heard. If not, like we mentioned before, get the written side of that to us. Like April said, during those committees, we have our laptops open. It's not we're looking at what the latest game that's going on, things that are happening. Some people might be. I'm not. Some people actually are reading the bills. But what I'm reading, like she said, is what are your words that I can help ask those questions? So if you're not being heard in the committee itself to testify, put your question in your comments. So you say, can you ask this question for me? Because I'm really concerned about the lights being on the towers or being on the wind farms. What does that impact to our farm and our agriculture? What about the water rights in our community? These are the kind of questions we need that feedback from you. And what does that mean to somebody who lives right here in Richland to taxes? What does that mean to some of the different property issues that are going on? What does that mean to our grid reliability that are happening in our community? That helps us help you get that on the record because of the Public Records Act. That will get into record for the state, for the history, and you can always go back and review it on the tape and even the recordings. And what we do and when we go to vote at a committee, we use that as it moves forward and goes onto the floor as well, and we'll talk about that soon, right? Or am I supposed to talk about floor schedules next? Or so next is the contact. If you need to get to anybody, we have hundreds. I know Dinah reminded me to bring all my business cards, so I have about 100 or so. So everybody before you leave has mine. Right, Dinah? She always says, bring them, because I always stack. But we have everybody's contact numbers. We want to make sure you have our new phone numbers. We went to this new, right, Dinah, Zoom phone. I don't trust it. I'm just saying it's kind of herky-jerky right now, so we're figuring that out with the state. But it's supposed to give you a lot more options to see us. And you can do that by clicking on the House of Representatives, and it goes down by district in alphabetical order. So you'll see Barnard toward the top, Connors right behind her kind of thing, and it goes down to A to Z. And then you can just click on it, and you can see all the contact information there as well. After you go through, you could check the bill information. What I recommend to people is hot list that, or what they call bookmark it, and even put a shortcut. You guys know how to put a shortcut on your home screen, on your desktop? put that on your desktop and click on that piece. And then what I ask you to do is you make a grouping of it. And what we've done in the past is made a group of any kind of things you want to do with the state, put it in that favorites folder. And then you have to go back to each time you just click on that one. It quickly gets you in about 2 clicks. You can get to our committee. And then from that 2 clicks, you can find the agenda. You can get to the hearings faster that way as well. Yeah, calendar schedules, what have I missed? Agendas, different agencies as well. And if you want to, one of the big ones we always say is at the bottom, each one of our sites has a place where you can sign up for updates. So legislative updates, when we push out any newsletters, any other things about bills, go ahead and sign up to those. So let's get in the queue. Our LAs help us with our media teams to make sure you're on a list so we can help share that to you a lot quicker. You can stay more involved with the information sharing as well. If you haven't got the little tab for TVW, get the app. You can check that app anywhere in the world now. So you don't even have to be in the state, and you can register and be on there, and you can click the link, and you can actually, you could be in, I don't know, any other country, and then go ahead and sign up, and we can hear you through that piece. But yes, ma'am.
What is the chance of people being in person more this year than they were during COVID and in the recent past?
So a lot more. So we've seen a lot more coming up because the gates are open. We're seeing the hearings more open. We're inviting more people to be in person, and we recommend that. Frankly, that's the best. When you look at your legislators, it seems kind of daunting, but when you come in front of us into that whole dais, into that arena, we call it, and we see you, that has a lot more engagement than anything. When you do it at city councils, you do it at county commissioner, any kind of forum, I think, is the best that the U.S. has to offer because other countries don't allow this, that you can actually face your elected official right there, and we can see you, we can hear you. We know the tone when it means a lot to you. When you're engaged and emotional about an issue and you start that emotion right in front of us, you can't fake that in front of people. A lot of times that are things that are online, it's good to hear your voice because you can't make it, but a lot of that is templated out and is kind of staged in a way, but it means a lot just having your voice as part of this engagement that we offer. So,
And I would say let us know if you're coming, and that way our legislative assistants can help make sure that we get to see you while you're there, even if we typically have meetings scheduled every 15 minutes when we're not in committee hearings. So even if we can't, we're already booked, our legislative assistants will actually come and pull us out of a committee just to say hi and to make sure that we see you when you hear your concerns, because you made a long trip there, and we want to make sure that we want to see our constituents first, and they will try to move our schedules around. So Matt was talking about tracking a bill. And so there are a couple different ways you can track a bill. Once you know what the bill is, they have 5755 up here right now, but it's yours, yes. But it looks like it wasn't, last year it only made it did it get to committee? So you can see when you're tracking the bill that it was introduced, which means you filed it, and you got a committee hearing, and then the committee didn't vote to move it out of committee, so that will be back this year? And so that bill will come back this year, but the process that I was saying, once you can see it goes into committee, and then it goes on the Senate floor for a vote, and if it passes the Senate chamber, then it goes back to the House, and then it goes through the same process again. If there's any changes at all in the House, then it has to kind of go back and be reworked in the other chamber to make sure that each chamber is okay with how the bill passed. But the nice part about this site, and it is really confusing, I would say the best thing you could do is go all the way to the bottom where it says, let your voice be heard, I think is what it says down there, and click on that, because that's the easiest way to get involved. But once you know what the bill number is, or you've searched and you found the bill that you are interested in, there's a way to click on here to get email notifications on that bill. So every time something happens with that bill, if they're going to have a hearing or if it passed a chamber, you're going to get an email notification of how it's moving through the process. And so then you know if you're going to comment again, because if you commented when the bill went through the House and you know it's going through the Senate, you can comment again so that Matt could see those comments, not just when it went through the House. So the other part about this one too is when I don't know, can you get on the internet or not on ledge.wa? So if you pull that bill up again, oh, if you go to bill information first, I just want to show over there. What Matt was talking about is right here, these pre-filed bills. If you'll click on that down here, Lindsay. These are the bills, and look, Rep. Barnard's already up here. She's already filed a bill this year. So these are the bills that have already been filed for this session. More will be coming. We were allowed to start filing them on Tuesday, and so they'll keep adding to there. But if you want to start kind of watching what's going to be coming up this session, those are already up there. So if you won't mind going back to the bill information and then type in his 5755, is that right? That's okay. And then you can also see other topics that are related to the bill. But if you, when I would suggest, so what we see too, if you're not commenting on the bill that as it's going through a hearing, you could just send us a comment on the bill and we'll see that as well. So if you click on send a comment of this bill to your legislators. So the important part about this is you have to put your address in, probably not your personal address to be good. Do you have the address of the little library you can put in, Lindsay? Here, this library. So I've messed up on this before. If you don't click verify your district, it won't let you send anything. So when this is the good part. So when you see this, your address is in District 8, you have the choice. You can just email Matt, Stephanie, or you can email all of us. One of the things that we try to do is if the email comes directed to one person, we try to take one of us take the lead. So sometimes you're not going to hear back from all three of us, but we're all going to see that you emailed. But and to save time, we know Matt or Stephanie will reply and say, I've got this one, and they will work with you, and the rest of us know that it's taken care of. Because if all three of us get involved, sometimes things get confused, and we want to make sure you get taken care of. So then when you go down below, it has you enter your contact information, and then you can say you support the bill, you do not like the bill, or you're neutral, and you can put your comments there. And so what happens is we'll get an email that says this is on House Bill or Senate Bill 5775 or whatever it is. And what Lindsay will do is she has a folder for me in my email, and she'll slide any email in there about 5755. So when I'm in the committee, if I'm not getting the notice that you signed in for the committee with information, I'm going to that tab to see if anybody from the Tri-Cities was worried about that bill or cared about that bill. And so that's really important on that one and on signing in for committee hearings to get your public testimony. Either way, we can kind of see how you feel.
Again, I've given a lot of public testimony because that was my profession. That's what I did for a living, was give public testimony. So I've given a lot of public testimonies. Signing up for it was, it's really intimidating at first, but once you do it, and you have your message down, again, as we've already talked about, you've got to have that message. Like, what is the message? Be really concise. What are you trying to say? And if you go in and just rant and complain, nobody's listening to you. I at least not in my committees, nobody's listening to you. You've got to have a good, what is the problem? What is the solution? And then potentially a personal story makes it all that much more effective. So to sign in, basically you just pick, if you know, and if you don't know, you'd reach out to one of our LAs and say, hey, I know Rep. Barnard's bill, what is it, 1890. So my bill that I just pre-filed, 1890, I know Stephanie's in the House, so you'd click on the House, right, and you'd select what committee, and you maybe don't even necessarily know. A lot of the times when I was trying to get in there, I was like, what committee is this going to go to? So it does need to be assigned to a committee and a hearing. So that's where you would first check the bill by putting in the bill number. When you go to bill information, that very first page, when you go on that ledge site, click on the bill information, put in the bill number, find out what committee it's in, and then you go to the committee and say that is going to be in Innovation, Community, and Economic Development and Veterans. I know that's a long, long name, but that's the committee that's going to be in my bill. So you go down here and you click on that, And then it will take you to House Committee sign-in, right? Isn't that what it does? Okay, so then you find the bill you want, and it will show, you can click on this right here. What is that called? A little drop down. Yeah, the drop down, and you find out when the next hearing is, and then you see on the agenda, it'll show on the agenda that that's coming up. And she's already, April's already got this in here. It's her housing committee, and then this is the bill, residential building exits. So then you see that that's on the agenda. So then you have options. You basically you sign up to testify, and then you get a confirmation email. So then once you get that confirmation email, it'll tell you, here's the Zoom link for this meeting. And you get on the Zoom link when it tells you, or when it's scheduled. And then once you get on the Zoom meeting, you're automatically muted and your video is off. And you just wait. You just wait. And you wait, and you wait, and you wait some more. And it depends on how many people. Like sometimes, though, those halls of Olympia, and they're all made of marble, right? So you can't hear anything, and there's millions of people in the hallway. And then sometimes there's only maybe 5 or 6 people there to testify. So only just a few people in line. It just depends on what the issue is. So you may be waiting a really, really, really long time, or you may be first or second on the list. So that's just kind of how it goes. And so you can be doing something else, shopping at Amazon, doing some watch. There's no queue, but sometimes they will. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we can help you with our LAs and ourselves being on committees. We can work with the committee chair, and we work with the ranking members on the committees. So I know as ranking member on housing or human services that I have, we can work with the chair on who's going to be coming up next. And we can give you the heads up. We could text you. We can work with our LAs to say, hey, you're going to be number 5, be prepared, or you're coming up going to be 35. And she mentioned like Ways and Means could be 12 hours from now. So we can try to give you a little bit of heads up. Those are between appropriations and ways are the worst because they're so much longer. It may be all day, but yeah, we can help you with that.
Yes, Nancy. Okay, so Nancy, on your bill, you need to be there for sure. But if you're coming from across the mountains, they do give precedent. They do give you preferential treatment. They'll say who has traveled a long way, and you raise your hand, and they'll say okay. But make sure that your representative or someone knows that you're there from, from the Tri-Cities, because if you make that long drive, they're going to hear you.
Yeah, it's usually the Friday before, and if not, we're going to be in touch when we know we're pushing it, and then we'll reach out to you again with our LAs and stuff. So we always had it when you guys come up to Olympia, check in with us, one of our offices. So, hey, I'm here, let us know, then we can walk you through. We may send you over to the cafeteria, say, hey, go grab a cup of coffee because it might be an hour or something, but you could sit out and you can help us, get prepared for it, and we can even work with you if you wanted to do a final edits on your comments, or if you want to listen in on some of the other bills, things like that we can work with you as well.
So I think that's it, other than, once you're on camera, they'll ask you to unmute yourself, or they'll unmute you, and you put your video on yourself. And then, to me, I'm just going to tell you, I can't speak for these two, but I would probably feel the same about this. Just reading it, and you can tell you're reading it, it's okay, because we all get nervous, and but if you can say, make your point, make it concise, and add something heartfelt like an experience. You're the expert and practitioner in the field that you're probably wanting to testify in, right? So if you're a farmer, let's say, and you know this, share something from you, and that's because a lot of the people that are testifying, especially if it's a controversial issue, they're going to be saying this. We're going to be hearing the same argument over and over and over. So if you can come in and say, hey, I'm a farmer. I live this every day. This is my experience. Those lived experiences, those personal experiences, they carry a lot of weight in Olympia. And you'd be surprised how many times, that does make a difference, or it turns a heart, changes a vote. So your support on key issues is absolutely crucial. And to be part of that process and be civically involved and engaged in the legislative process, it really does make a difference. So that's why we're here today, right?
I wanted to add to that because your emails and messages that you send make a difference, and what you didn't see on the video that they showed of my hearing is I read an email that someone had sent me from Walla Walla. And then I also, on the House floor, I don't know how many times I've heard both of them tell stories from constituents. And so, we're over there to represent you, and so we want your voices to be heard when we're giving our floor speeches. And frankly, the best floor speeches that are given on the House floor come not necessarily from our lived experiences, but from yours, and telling the stories of the people that we're representing. And so that's all I could probably add to it, just from what Stephanie said. Yeah. So I think we have done most of this on how to comment on a bill. So I think we're just going to go to signing up for our updates. One of the things that we're working on this year is every Friday we get a hot sheet of bills that are not only important for our communities, but could also be sometimes controversial too, that we will see. And so what we're trying to do is figure out a way if we can get that list now out through our legislative updates. So every Friday when we know your bill might be coming up, that we could send out a legislative update that just said, hey, these are bills that are coming up that you might be interested or want to be involved in, or at least know something's happening, as well as if there is a certain topic that you're really interested in. I know Ginger was here earlier, but she had to leave, and she's really interested in community land trusts. I know that, so I would let Ginger know that. But if there's something that you're really interested in, if you're interested in housing, or if you're interested in energy or physical therapy, you're back there. And so if those are topics that you're really interested in, and we know that, and you want to let us know that, our LAs are very, very good about letting you know when bills are happening. I know Lindsay last year, and I'm sure Dinah and Brooke will as well, but if you email in on a bill, say the 5755, Lindsay's also watching for that, and she's going to try to let you know when a hearing's going to happen and when that's going to be interesting. And they do get very busy, but they do their best to try to keep everyone here informed. And so to sign up for our newsletters, these are our websites that we're on. You can probably just Google us as your state representative and find them, but there's a way to subscribe to the newsletters, which we do. Well, there's QR codes on here too. And there's also a way to sign up for email updates. And I would say the email updates are really good to sign up for, because that's where we're going to try to keep you involved with those big ticket bills that are coming through this year.